Hey guys, and welcome to episode number 87 of Diehlman at Halftime, the NBA podcast that tops all others. I'm your host, Larry Diehlman, joined by my co-host, Chris DiPietro. If you're joining us for the first time, it's great to have you, and if you've been a regular listener, welcome back. We have a lot to cover today and not a lot of time to do it. We'll look at a general overview of the NBA this week and then discuss some important topics across the association. Let's get to our content for the week. One of the biggest stories of the week came out of Philadelphia. Paul George has been suspended for 25 games for violating the league's anti-drug policy. And at this point, he probably won't return until the end of March. So basically, the story went Paul George has been dealing with mental health issues recently. And in a statement, he said that he took a quote, improper medication to deal with this, and he added that he's focused on using this time to make sure that his mind and body are in the best condition to help the team when he returns. Chris, just a bad timing for the Sixers, who are right now on an upswing, and then all of a sudden you get dealt this major blow. Paul George obviously isn't the player he once was in Indiana and Oklahoma City, and even for his portion in Los Angeles as well with the Clippers, but still a valuable piece for the Sixers. And I know it's for mental health purposes, but you cannot be making decisions like this or just ill-advised decisions. I mean, in today's day and age, you could do your own research. You could ask the league office, you could ask your agent or maybe the team doctor. But at this point in time, you can't just use the dog ate my homework excuse or, oh, I didn't know that X drug was in X medication. So it's a bad look for Paul George. And I don't know how the Sixers are going to hold up.
Yeah, I think mental health or physical health or whatever, there's no excuse. There's no excusing this. But just poor Paul George, man. That's how I feel. Silver saw a 130 bomb and said, maybe we should throw a little random test in his locker. But no, it sucks for him and the Sixers. He was having a sneaky good season, I thought. Counting stats were down a little bit, but I thought he found a really nice niche, kind of making impactful plays off the ball and on defense. I think he's got a case for an all defense team this year. I think that's how good of a defender he's been. He's made some like seriously impactful plays, especially down the stretch in games for the Sixers on defense. He's shooting well this season. The Sixers are much better with him on the court than they are without. They have a 7.0 net rating with him on the floor, -1 with him off. And it just kind of sucks that in the first stretch of his career with the Sixers, where he really feels settled in and he's contributing and he's playing well, this happens. And, like you said, he attributed it to a banned medication for his mental health. But who knows exactly what he took because the NBA is not disclosing exactly what he took. But like I said, mental health, physical health, whatever, there's no excusing this. I don't agree with Shaq and Charles Barkley and those guys on inside the NBA much, but I actually think they made a pretty decent point in regards to Paul George. And they said if this was truly some sort of mental medication mishap that happened, this should have been cleared up. This shouldn't have been an issue. He should have gotten some sort of exempt for this, or there should have been some way out or some way of knowing that what he was taking was banned. So they didn't really buy it. I'm not sure if I buy it. Regardless, it's inexcusable, and it does really suck for not only him but the Sixers who have been playing really well without him. And hopefully he can get comfortable in those 10 games remaining between the end of his suspension and the playoffs because they're going to need him to play well if the Sixers want to go far this year, and I really think they can if he plays well.
Thankfully, the NBA doesn't have if you're suspended, you're missing the playoffs, kind of like what we saw with the Phillies with Jose Alvarado coming back for a few weeks and then immediately
It was just Ozempic. Come on.
going right back to the bench because the MLB says you can't go in the playoffs either. So, yeah, Paul George, those last 10 games or so, we'll see how he does trying to ramp up his production before the big dance in April. And right now, the Sixers are a game and a half over the Heat for the sixth seed in the East. So the Sixers are currently staying above water to get out of that play-in tournament. The Heat are trying to get out of the play-in tournament, and we'll have to see how the Sixers weather this storm without Paul George. This episode is entitled The Upper Hand. So, who's raising eyebrows at the moment?
All right, so in recent days, the NBA has come out with their full all-star lineups, starters and reserves included. And as it does every year, it draws a bit of controversy. So we figured we had to touch on this because let me just say, I know I took issue with a lot of these guys. I'm excited to hear what you have to say, Larry. But first, we'll kind of run through just the full list of all-stars here. In the Eastern Conference, the starters, Giannis, Jaylen Brown, Cade Cunningham, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Maxey, no surprises there. In the West, Steph Curry, Luka, Shea, Jokic, and Victor Wembanyama. Again, no real surprises there either. But let's get to the reserves, which are inevitably a bit more interesting. In the East, we have Scotty Barnes, great. Jalen Duren, I think he had a great case. Jalen Johnson, had to put him on there. Donovan Mitchell, of course. Norman Powell, Pascal Siakam, Carl Anthony Towns. I don't know, Jim. Let's take it out west first, though, before we get into the weeds about this. Anthony Edwards, of course. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, of course. The West kind of got interesting here. Jamal Murray made it. I think he should have. Chet Holmgren made it over Alperen Sengun. We'll get to that. Denny Avdia slipped in here as well, deserving. And LeBron James was here at the tail end of these reserves, which no one really seems to take issue with here from a vibes perspective. But was this his most deserving All-Star year? I don't think so. But let's get into this here. I think there is a giant elephant in this room, or maybe a lack of one. No Joel Embiid is a genuine embarrassment for the game of basketball and any coach, player, or fan who voted for these All-Stars. He is a better basketball player than every single East reserved. Matter of fact, every single West reserve. I'm looking at you, Anthony Edwards, and probably half the starters of the 10. We're going to talk more about him later, but it is ridiculous. He couldn't sneak a reserve spot in a conference where Norman Powell, Pascal Siakam, and Carl Anthony Towns this year were all-stars. That is absolutely unfathomable to me. No Kawhi Leonard is arguably just as insane to me. No Kawhi? He's doing so much for the people.
It's an interesting list when you look at it. I actually went back to our predictions from a couple episodes ago and said who each of us got right. So for the Eastern Conference reserves, we each had Donovan Mitchell and Carl Anthony Towns making it.
I regret putting him in there. But you know, I was right, but like God, just seeing Embiid not in there just boils my blood.
We both had Mitchell and Cat. You had Jalen Johnson and Scotty Barnes correct, although I didn't have Jalen Johnson because I put him as a starter. I decided to give him some love.
Yeah.
But I was correct with Norman Powell. Norman Powell, Jalen Johnson, and Jalen Duren, this is all their first all-star appearance. Siakam is a little questionable. As much as he's talented, the Pacers are kind of low-key ass this year, more like high-key ass.
High key ass.
They lost Miles Turner in free agency to the Bucks, and Tyrese Halliburton's been showing on the sideline with an injury, so definitely questionable there. Donovan Mitchell, despite the Cavs kind of not doing too good right now, still Donovan Mitchell is a bucket. Norman Powell's been doing good for the Heat, but kind of questionable compared to, like, let's say Joel Embiid. And then Scotty Barnes and Jalen Duren, two great young talents that deserve their flowers. I know Chris was mocking me when I said Brandon Ingram, so I'll give Scotty Barnes his
Listen,
flowers here.
listen, listen. I made fun of you for the Brandon Ingram over Scotty Barnes thing, but now that we're here and we know the reserves, and we know that Norman Powell's an all-star, and we know that Pascal Siakam's an all-star, and we know that Carl Anthony Towns is an all-star this year, I think he's having a relatively bad season for his standards. I rescind my comments on your Brandon Ingram placement because I think I'd be happy to see Brandon Ingram here over any of those three guys.
He's
He
Walmart
is
Kevin
Walmart
Durant.
Kevin Durant. He's been the scoring juice of the Raptors needed because RJ Barrett's not doing it for him, and Scotty Barnes is maybe not the most talented scorer in the league. But like even like see Norman Powell and Michael Porter Jr. to me are like two like pretty similar players. Like don't have much to offer defensively, just microwave scores. And like I think they even got that wrong. Like if you're gonna put a microwave scorer here at the end of the reserves, I don't see how you put Norman Powell in there over Michael Porter Jr. Like that's our black hole of the year, Larry. Michael Porter Jr., I mean, you could call it empty stats, but I mean, he is balling out. Like he's balling out. He's reached a level of empty stats where we have to wonder, like, maybe this guy isn't an empty stats guy. Maybe this guy really can contribute. Screw that. We know he can contribute on a championship team. He just kind of had the misfortune of being swapped out for Cam Johnson over in Brooklyn. And clearly the Nuggets, who are trying to win, kind of had enough of his defense. But again, like I took a lot more issue with the East here, but Kawhi not making it in the West is ridiculous to me. He is having as good of a season as he's had in maybe the last 5 years, maybe ever since he's been a Clipper. I think him and Embiid were the two biggest snubs, like bar none. I think LaMelo could have made it in the East. I would have been happy to see LaMelo there.
He was one of
Uh,
my last picks too.
yeah, I think LaMelo should have made it. He maybe could have snuck in there at the end. Again, Joel Embiid should be in there over 90% of these motherfuckers, including the starters. It's ridiculous. Excuse my potty mouth. Kawhi should have made it over LeBron. Listen, like I get it, man. Like they want to uphold LeBron's legacy. They want to treat their GOAT right. And 22 All-Star appearances is just going to look a little better than 21. But just from a pure basketball standpoint, I don't think you can argue LeBron over Kawhi this year. I think that's kind of ridiculous. I had Kawhi as a starter. So again, I don't think you can be that mad at LeBron getting in. It's the GOAT after all. And, it's whatever. It's like they were probably going to do something like that anyway for him. I think what's really interesting in the West was the Alperen Şengün versus Chet Holmgren debates that kind of sparked after the reserves came out. If you just look at both of their kind of counting stats, you'd probably go Şengün. Obviously, he has the ball in his hands way more. He's a playmaker. He has way more assists. And I think they have comparable scoring and rebounding numbers. So I think people just want to go Şengün over Chet because of that. But Chet has been having an amazing defensive season. I think he's the favorite for Deep Boy still, even though, as we've talked about before, I think Scotty Barnes is coming up on his tail there. But it's a fascinating debate. But I'm not mad at them for going Chet. I think they got that right actually. James Harden getting snubs kind of tough, but I don't really know who you put him over. Maybe Denny. I don't think he should be in there over Jamal Murray. But yeah, I mean, as it does every year, it gets ugly towards the end of these reserves in both conferences. But this year, I think it got ugly, especially in the East. No, Joel Embiid is unreal, and we will get to him in a moment. But I think my final conclusion after looking at these reserves and the snubs and all of the outrage that has sparked since, there are just too many good NBA players. I think we need to send maybe 10 of them overseas as like an experiment because there are just too many good NBA players. There shouldn't be this much debate over all-star teams. There shouldn't be this many great players, deserving players getting snubbed. I think we have too many good NBA players. I think the league either needs to expand to 48 teams or send 10 superstars overseas. What do you think of that solution, Larry? I worked really hard on it. It's backed by data. You just have to trust me. I mean, how are we going to handle this problem of too many good basketball players?
Could you imagine, let's say, prime LeBron? Could you imagine him leading the Guangdong Tigers or I don't know, some team in like Turkey or something? Yeah, send him overseas. Maybe if you want to create more craziness or more chaos, maybe bring a G League team up here. They might be as good as the Wizards or the Pacers, but
Chill. Okay, Pacers maybe, but don't be hating on my Wiz, bro. DC fam, that's low key my team right now. Besides the Sixers, I mess with Alex Sarr heavy, so I don't want no Wiz disrespect. Okay, but maybe the Pacers, maybe Charles Bassey and and Kenneth Lofton and Janai Broom can hang with those boys. Maybe they can
mm,
hang with Jay Huff,
of course.
and his reverse dunks.
So I already gave my thing about the East. Looking at the West from our previous episode, I was correct with Ant, Denny, and Kevin Durant, and you were right with KD, LeBron, and Jamal Murray. So Jamal Murray, Chet Holmgren, and Denny Avdia get their first All-Star
Shout
selections.
out Jamal Murray, bro.
Yeah, he's been low key due for one. It's been a while, But when you play with a guy named Nikola Jokic, it's kind of hard to get the same amount of love as Joker does. LeBron making it for like 22 years is insanity. Of
You
course,
could not put him in.
he started the year with La sciatica, and that
Mm.
kind of derailed some of his season. And he's starting to get a little older, and we're seeing it unfold in real time. I feel like at this point, Adam Silver is going to put LeBron in the All Star game, even if it's like 36 years in a row or something. LeBron could be like 57 years old with like oh my back or something, and he's averaging like 3 points a game. He'd still put him in
Yeah, for as
for
long as he's
laughs
playing, they'll find a way to put him in
just
there.
for yeah, just for laughs, I guess. But a good lineup like Devin Booker is solid. Chet Holmgren, maybe not like the like de facto star in Oklahoma City, but still a great player. And as you said, the probably a defensive player of the year favorite. But yeah, the Embiid and Kawhi snubs. I don't know. The East is just kind of weak where we look at the West and you're like, all right, but the Eastern Conference, yeah, I don't know how Embiid was snubbed for Siakam or Norman Powell or Cat. I know has been kind of
I can't
struggling.
believe we're sitting here and saying this. It's kind of infuriating, but
Joel Embiid
um,
being an Eastern Conference starter used to be like penciled in every year, and now we're questioning if he's
dude,
even an
I
All
think
Star.
with how many I mean, again, we'll get to it, but with how many games he's played this year, I think he has a case to be a starter. It's unreal.
And the Kawhi thing, it could also be the reason that they kind of felt the need to snub him was the Clippers had a horrific start. They've been good ever since like late December. Looking
Come
at
on.
like the Blazers have been a little more consistent. Denny Avdia has been kind of consistent all year. Kawhi has been heating up. I think that might be a reason why. But All-Star weekend is coming up in a few weeks. It'll be Sunday, February 15th over in the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles. So the Clippers are hosting, and yet they have no All-Stars. Odd, but that's just the way the NBA rules, and we'll see how everybody represents in this new USA versus World format. I watched last year's game, and it was low key.
Wonderful.
It was so wonderful.
Super
It
entertaining.
was so wonderful. It was bad. More talking and music performances than actual basketball.
Yes, please. Yes, please. That's
So,
exactly what we want.
and another thing too, there's going to probably be a replacement. Maybe Kawhi can get in because Giannis is out with a calf injury, so he'll probably sit
Mm.
out. Maybe Embiid gets in there.
Throw a little Cameroonian action in there. Lack of there's a severe lack of Cameroonians on the Eastern team. We only have one, Pascal Siakam. I mean, we need for every year from going forward. I mean, if we don't have two Cameroonians, I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah,
Need a need in there.
yeah. So we'll see. Giannis is a starter. He's going to sit out. We'll see if they can get a replacement. But those are the East and West reserves, and All Star Weekend is just around the corner. All right, let's go to speaking of which with Joel Embiid. Joel Hans Embiid has had quite a resurgence this season after injuries plagued him last year because, what's new? It's kind of a rough start to the season. This is clearly Tyrese Maxey's team, but Embiid is the key factor for the Sixers to be a competitor in the Eastern Conference. Joel has played in 28 games so far this year compared to just 19 last year. That was total, averaging about 26 points, 7.5 boards, and 4 assists per game, which is odd because he used to average a double double quite easily. But seeing a 7'2" center grabbing just 7 rebounds,
I don't care, King. You don't have to rebound if you drop
those
35.
26 points make up for it quite clearly. Joel even had a 32-point triple double against the Rockets a couple weeks ago and dropped 40 on New Orleans this past Saturday. I was watching that Pelicans game and I was like, Joel, you're back. He's back.
All the way back. It's
Yeah, he
crazy.
he just when he's dominating, he's very hard to stop. Despite the fact that this is a guards league now, Chris, it's hard to stop Embiid. You really can't throw much at him because he'll shoot over you. He'll just bully you. Despite what people say that he's a M free throw merchant or M flop, he's still just way too tough to guard. He's a great shooter, especially at the foul line. And if you don't tell him that it's the second round of the playoffs, like the rest of the Sixers, then um,
Chill, chill.
he's gonna do pretty good. I'm not saying he's a playoff joker. I'm just saying that Sixers get to the second round of the playoffs and forget how to play basketball. Just
Listen, I'm halting you right here because we're getting negative, and this is a time to shed some positive, happy light on the sad, depressing, frustrating career of Joel Embiid. We have to talk about him. Not even a year ago, the world was preparing themselves for a medically induced retirement. And today, he's averaging 31, 9, and 5 over his last 10, shooting 41% from three. It is unthinkable what he is doing right now. You watch him move right now, he looks like he's 55 years old. Like he's labored, he's falling all over the place, he looks sluggish. And with all that being said, he's still a walking 30. It is unreal. If we didn't have enough proof to make this claim, this recent stretch is damning that he is one of the greatest scoring centers, if not basketball players of all time. His touch, both near and away from the rim, his feel for manipulating defenders. You get Joel Embiid isolated 18 feet from the basket, he's scoring. You know, just like watching the game with some friends. I mean, again, you get him on that elbow anywhere from 15 to 20 feet from the basket, and you're only throwing one guy at him. You might as well just tack on the 2 points for the Sixers now because he's either blowing right by you with his elderly pace, but his insane size, he's blowing right past you, getting to the rim. He's bringing that ball down, getting your hands low, swinging up, and getting to the free throw line. Or he's just going to shoot right over you and make a midi. He is such a tricky puzzle for defenders. Maybe one of the trickiest puzzles to solve of all time out of any score. He is truly impossible to stop when he is on and he is healthy and he's moving as good as he can, which he has been lately. And he's played in over half of the Sixers games this year, and he was still getting his feet under him in a lot of those games. So again, you read his total season averages earlier, but they are much, much higher lately. And I don't really feel like I'm cherry picking just a good 10 games from him. I don't really just think this is a hot stretch from Joel Embiid. This just is Joel Embiid. This is Joel Embiid with his feet under him, which again, we don't see super often. But regardless, this isn't just a hot 10 games for Embiid. This is Joel Embiid. This is who he is. He's one of the greatest scorers of all time. He's still one of the best players in the NBA. And again, it is just flat out ridiculous he wasn't an all-star. It is just unthinkable. Like I said, I think he has a case to be a starter. But I'm angry enough about that. It's whatever. It's an all-star game. No one even takes it seriously anymore. I care more about my baby, Joel Hans, absolutely balling the out right now and looking like one of the best players in the NBA with the mobility of a 55-year-old. So yeah, it's just marvelous. It's truly marvelous what he's doing right now.
And they need this Joel Embiid to be competitive. Like I said earlier, with the Paul George suspension, they can't just, when you have three scorers like Embiid, George, and Maxey, you can kind of balance it out a little bit more. But they need the old Embiid to step up and be who he is because Paul George is such a crucial piece of the puzzle for them under Nick Nurse. And this is a man that we've seen in the past absolutely cook some great players in the NBA. This man has, I believe, a winning record over Anthony Davis. He has cooked Nikola Jokic. I think recently he dropped like 47 on his head.
Dude, people will try and bullshit and be like, "Oh, Embiid always dunks Jokic in Denver." Embiid fries Jokic when they play. Like
And this is a man,
it's unreal. It's unreal. People think Embiid would duck him.
this
Are
is
you
a
kidding?
and this is a man who also dropped a casual 70 points on Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama, as great as he is a beanpole. Like he is so
Well,
skinny.
he sure wasn't his rookie year when Embiid, that great video of Embiid sizing up Wemby and then saying a little prayer. Like that was and then proceeding to drop 70 on him. If you had seen that video before the game or you were in the crowd watching the players pregame and you saw Embiid size up Wemby and say a little prayer to himself, like I mean you would probably think Embiid's in for a tough night at the office. But it was quite the opposite as Joel Embiid had 70 points in like 30 minutes. Like, oh my God. Like, oh my God, I could go on. This gets me riled up because he will never get the respect he deserves in the grand scheme of things. He really is one of the best scoring centers, if not players ever. And he's been playing like it lately, again, with the mobility of a 55-year-old, maybe even older.
Can we imagine what Joel Embiid's career would have been if we could pretend like we're playing NBA 2K and turn injuries off for his career?
He'd be the GOAT, bro. He'd be the
He'd
GOAT.
be averaging
I don't
30.
even care, bro.
He'd average 30 every season. Maybe they'd make a conference final or a finals sprinkled in there,
Maybe.
and we wouldn't be getting all of the but he ducks Jokic in Denver, all that crap. So
It's whatever. It's whatever, man. Real ones know. Real ones know.
he
It's
should have had
whatever.
multiple MVPs. I mean, we can
Facts.
we can all complain about the one that Embiid won was, oh, that should have been
They
Jokic.
thought it was a pity MVP. That is ridiculous. Whatever.
But we'll see how Joel Embiid does in this last chunk of the season, and especially without Paul George. Let's see if Joel Embiid can keep the process going.
Okay, Larry. I'm gonna read you some of the best five-man lineups in the NBA by net rating. So, buckle down here, get ready for class. I'm gonna educate you on some of the just the best lineups in the NBA right now. We'll start with the Sixers starters: Maxey, Edgecombe, George, Barlow, and Embiid, +9 in the net rating. That's tremendous. That's a very good lineup, +9. Let's go to Detroit. Detroit starting lineup: Cade, Sar Thompson, Duncan Robinson, Tobias Harris, and Jalen Duren. +12.7 net rating. That is really stinking high. And even above those two, we have two different Denver Nuggets lineups. Jamal Murray, Cam Johnson, and Nikola Jokic being the constants in those lineups. One lineup having Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon. That one has a 13.1 net rating. The other having Peyton Watson and Spencer Jones, +16.7 net rating. Those are crazy high. Those are incredibly productive lineups when they're on the floor. Denver is easily a championship contender, if not the favorite. They have two of the best lineups by net rating in the league. They're one of the best teams in the league, no doubt. LaMelo Ball, Con Knipple, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and Musa Diabate, +33.8 net rating. 33.8. They are 33.8 points better when they are on the floor than whoever they're playing against. That is unreal. That is an unreal net rating. That is like borderline impossible. And we're talking about the Charlotte Hornets. We're talking about the Charlotte Hornets who are going to be bottom five in the East this year and get another lottery pick, right? And I
Barbecue
think
chicken.
I think they're still down there. But they won seven in a row. So you can say what you want about nerdy little net rating numbers. They've won seven in a row here against, some stinkers, but some quality opponents too. They just beat San Antonio. They beat Dallas. They beat Philly. They beat Orlando. They just beat Denver. They have been one of the best teams in basketball over the last month plus. And I really think it has a ton to do with their health. This has been the first time we've seen LaMelo, Brandon Miller, the new addition of Con Knipple, Miles Bridges. This core, this is the first time we've seen them healthy, all playing together, maybe since this core's inception. And man, Charles Lee has these boys humming. They have genuinely been one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team in the league over the last couple weeks. And I think we have to start with the engine of it all, LaMelo Ball. We have a bit of a three-headed monster in terms of their scoring leaders, all averaging about 20. LaMelo, rookie Con Knipple, and Brandon Miller. We'll start with LaMelo though. Big narrative around LaMelo for a lot of his career was that he just was not a winning player and that he kind of just did whatever he felt like on the basketball court. And make no mistake, in this recent stretch of Hornets' success, LaMelo is still doing whatever he wants on a basketball court. But instead of that being a reckless, team abandoning trait, that has really turned into a superpower for LaMelo Ball. At 6'7", at his height, with his handle, with his shooting touch, with his feel for passing lanes and just playmaking savant. He's a playmaking savant. He can do whatever he wants on a basketball court, and at times that can be careless, and it has led to some bad decision making. But this season, in this recent stretch of games, LaMelo is clearly honing that in. If you've put on a Hornets game this season, which you really should, they were our Streamies Team of the Year prior to the season. Our winner for the team who probably won't be on national television much, but you should definitely be tuning into. They are just such a fun team, and LaMelo is such a fun player. And it's no longer just, oh, here comes a silly guy who's tall with a handle and can shoot and can pass, who's just making reckless decisions, and it's fun to watch. Watching him hone this in is scary. It's scary to watch, and it's really encouraging. It's what we've wanted out of LaMelo this entire time. We wanted him to become a more serious decision maker with the ball in his hands, and that's what he's doing. Let's see, he's averaging basically a career low in turnovers since his rookie season when he wasn't playing as much. He's shooting really well this season, and he is the core, he's the motor, he's the distributor behind this Hornets team and their success. We have to talk about Con Knipple, the fifth overall pick in the most recent draft. He has already become, in 40 or so games in the NBA, one of the best shooters in the league. Off the dribble, catch and shoot, doesn't matter. Knipple, when you see that ball come out of his hands, you're saying that has a chance of going in. And it probably will go in as he is shooting a 43% from three this year on some crazy high volume. And he's been a lot more than just the pure shooter that was projected out of him coming out of college. He's had the ball in his hands a lot, and he clearly just has a really great feel for the game already. He is super polished. He's maybe one of the most polished rookies we've seen come into the league in a long time. And he's going neck and neck with future All-NBA superstar Cooper Flag for Rookie of the Year right now. I don't think Khan maybe has the ceiling Cooper Flag does, but he's having just an incredible season for a rookie, and especially given what we were expecting out of him, he's blown that out of the water. Lastly, we'll talk about the third member of their core here in Brandon Miller, second overall pick 3 years ago, 3 years ago at this point. He had a promising rookie season and had to miss the majority of his second season with a shoulder injury, I believe, but he has been balling out this year. He is kind of that Paul George ISO scorer shooter archetype. Just get the ball in his hands and he'll get a bucket. That's what Brandon Miller is.
Paul George is his GOAT.
That's right. Paul George is his GOAT, as we're seeing with a lot of players now, it feels like. Shout out Paul George. I can't even blame him. Paul George is smooth like that. Paul George might be my GOAT, man. But just seeing him move in isolation. So gotta respect that choice out of Brandon Miller. And man, does he play like it. He is just smooth as butter with the ball in his hands. And he's already become such an efficient scorer. He's lanky, he's quick, he's got a really tight handle, and he shoots the ball well. And those are attributes of a really good scorer in this league. And he's really getting comfortable with the ball in his hands. The Hornets are just on a tear right now. It's crazy. They were in my play-in lottery tier of teams during our power rankings, which was kind of just teams that were probably going to be towards the bottom of the rankings, but had a chance to really kind of explode, as I kind of led on with my lottery part of the tier name. And man, the Hornets are hitting right now. It's just kind of crazy watching because they were already a fun team to watch, but they are really coming together. Shout out to Charles Lee. If the Hornets continue this amount of success, I think you have to start considering him for Coach of the Year. I really liked the hire at the time. I believe he came over from Boston, and I'll be just about happy seeing a team with a head coaching vacancy pull anybody from Boston. And I saw Missoula and Sam Cassell and other players just rave about Charles Lee. So I liked the hire at the time, and he is really proving it. The Hornets are having the best stretch of basketball they've had in a long time. We're talking like Kemba Walker. So we had to talk about the Charlotte Hornets. One more guy I have to mention before I'd like to hear your thoughts on the Charlotte Hornets. We have to talk about Moussa Diabate, their starting center. Before the season, the center depth was grim for Charlotte. I'm talking grim. I mean, I didn't know who Moussa Diabate was before this season, and it was him and Ryan Kalkbrenner, a rookie. And Moussa is averaging 9 and 9 a game, which is pretty good, but his impact is felt way beyond the box score. He is just a total pest on the boards and on defense. He's huge. He's got a 7'2" wingspan. He's physical. He's a crazy athlete. He plays with so much energy. He's got such a high motor. He's not chained to the paint. He's a versatile defender. And he's low-key got some playmaking goods. I've thrown on Hornets games where I see Musa with the ball in his hands making some really good reads. Plus 12.5 net rating when he's on the floor. The Hornets are so much better when he's playing. Just such a diamond in the rough of their center depth, which again just looks so bad to start this season. Everything is going well for Charlotte right now, which man, I don't know when was the last time anyone said that. So we had to shout out the Hornets here.
Yeah, it's definitely been a while since Charlotte has had anything to celebrate, and it's good to see that Eric Collins, the play-by-play announcer, can finally cheer and be as loud and amazing as he is for
Good for him.
winning basketball and not just empty stats. If you don't know who Eric Collins is, please go on YouTube and look up his calls, and you will not regret it one bit. He pretty much covered all the points. The Hornets right now 7 game win streak, and they are only 1 game, Chris, out of the 10 seed for the play-in tournament. They are doing better than the Bucks, and at this point, I mean, with the trade deadline just days away, who knows if Giannis gets dealt or maybe does Doc Rivers get fired if the Bucks keep going in that direction. And we've already talked about, ad nauseum with Giannis and friends. But the Hornets are on the way up while the Bucks are on the way down. Like they've beaten good teams in this win streak. Like you said, the Spurs, the Sixers game was an absolute murder. It was like 50.
Yeah,
They were up by 50 at the end of the third quarter, I believe.
I know it's
It
just
was that
unreal.
disgusting. Con Knipple had a 30 burger against Dallas on 8 triples.
That game was insane. I don't know if you caught that, but the Flag versus Knipple Rookie of the Year battle, Flag had 49, and Knipple was matching him up until like maybe 6 minutes left in the fourth. That was an unreal game, and it showed you what Con Knipple was made of, and he's going to be a co-star, if not a lead star for the Hornets. So yeah, that game was nuts, and the Sixers game, yeah, like you said, that was
The
just
Hornets have just needed some young talent, and even when they had Kemba Walker, they just could never get out of first gear. They were always just stuck in mediocrity. Kemba Walker was very limited on the defensive end, and he was kind of a pure bucket and not much else. He could get you some assists, but he wasn't like an all-around type player. And Kemba Walker was putting up a lot of empty stats just based on the teams that he was playing on, and the coaching staff I think was kind of a carousel. And
yeah, it's like Borrego.
they really could not get out of that gear. And now we're seeing the Hornets starting to build something, and maybe LaMelo Ball can actually put some pieces together in his game and with this team because throughout his career he's been pretty much made of glass. There's no denying it.
Yeah.
And if he can stay healthy, the Hornets have plenty of room to grow. And like you said, Charles Lee, yeah, he came over from Boston right after they won the championship, I believe.
Yep.
And bringing a guy with that mentality to a young team that desperately needs help
Yeah, they needed a
was a great move.
serious voice in the locker room. And I think what Charles Lee, again, coming over from a championship winning team, and Con Knipple coming in, again, they had talent before Con Knipple, but it was a lot of unfinished talent. It was a lot of raw talent. And Con Knipple, again, I could have told you this before he had played this year. He was just a super polished prospect. And there weren't a whole lot of polished players on the Hornets prior to Khan coming in. So they bring in a guy who's super polished, a guy who can shoot the crap out of the ball, and that is not going to make many mistakes. And then you bring in a coach who, again, just won a championship and a serious voice in the locker room. So they just added a degree of seriousness, a degree of a pedigree to not only their coaching staff, but their roster with the addition of such a polished player in Knipple and a credentialed coach who, again, Charles Lee just coming off a championship and people raved about him. So yeah, we had to talk about the Hornets here. They're on an absolute tear. New favorite in the East. Hey, if I'm at the top of the East, I don't want to see the Charlotte Hornets. If I'm Eric's Detroit Pistons, I don't want to see Charlotte Hornets in the 8th seed right there. That's not the team I want to see. I'm praying for the Heat. I'm praying for the Bulls. I'm praying for the Hawks. I do not want to see the Charlotte Hornets in that 8th seed if I'm any of these teams. towards the top of the East. They are just playing unreal right now. They're really just coming together in a way we haven't seen with this young core.
Yeah, we'll see if the Hornets can continue this nice stretch of basketball they're getting with their young talent, and it's finally starting to mesh well. And we'll see if Khan can win Rookie of the Year or at least be competitive in that race. The question now, can they keep this momentum with a tough schedule? They have 2 dates with the Rockets coming up, and they also see the Pistons, for example. So, some tough opponents coming up. We'll see if they can get that job done. Speaking of those 2 dates with Houston, this will segue nicely into our game of the week, which we are going with you guessed it, Charlotte Hornets at Houston Rockets. And this game's on Thursday, February 5th at 8 o'clock. I forgot so I was at work today and I'm like, why are the Hornets playing at 3 o'clock on a Monday afternoon? And I think it was a rescheduled game from the snow last week.
That makes sense. I was wondering that too. They played at some funky times lately.
I was like, well, wait, hold on a second. It says live.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so they're playing on Thursday with the Houston Rockets. We've already talked about the Hornets 7 game win streak. They're 23 and 28 and 11th in the East. Rockets 30 and 17, fourth in the West. Basically, this is an up and coming team versus a proven contender. Kevin Durant's had 30 plus in 4 of his last 6 games. Amen Thompson had a near triple double against Dallas. He's been playing very well. 14 assists against the Grizzlies. And as we talked about earlier, with Alperon Şengün being an all-star snub, has a chance to put it on display right here. This season series, since it's a East versus West, only 2 games in the regular season, they will actually play again 2 weeks from Thursday. So 2 Thursdays this month, and it'll be in Charlotte. That'll be on the 19th. They'll wrap up that season series. But this one for now is in Houston. Despite the Hornets and their winning ways at the moment, Chris, I'm going to take the Rockets. Tough team to play. Just seeing Rockets games, I feel like that's a very tough environment to play in, especially when KD is cooking at home. I'm going to go with the Rockets 121, 115. The way the Hornets have been going, it should be a barn burner. And if we get some LaMelo Ball, Con Knipple action, it should definitely be a good one. And we'll see if the young guys, like you said, with Ryan Kalkbrenner and Musa Diabate can step up too.
I believe it was our last game of the week. I said Donovan Clingan was going to eat Neemias Queta alive. I think I was right now. I think Clingan had what, like 16 and 16, something crazy like that, and Queta had like a whole bunch of nothing. But I believe I still picked the Celtics to win that game. Did they?
Klingon had 9 points, 15 boards, and five
Okay.
blocks.
Okay, 15, so 15 boards and 5 blocks. All right. Did the Celtics win though? That's what I'm really curious about here because I think I picked them.
Yeah, the Celtics won.
Okay, so I picked Donovan Clingan to eat up Neemias Queta on the boards in that game, but I still picked Boston. I think it's going to be a similar affair here in this game, but maybe not quite the mismatch you're expecting. I think Musa Diabate might be the worst matchup for Alperen Şengün. This is not a guy Alperen Şengün wants to be backing up for 30 minutes a game. Like I said before, I talked about him at length. Musa Diabate is a pest. And he is physical, and he's going to get up in your grill, and he's big, and he's strong, and he is coordinated. Before I had said coordinated, we see a lot of these bigs in the league that are big, athletic, and strong, but they're not coordinated. You watch Musa Diabate play, he's like butter out there. That's what separates him from someone like a Jackson Hayes. No disrespect to, actually, low-key disrespect to Jackson Hayes, kind of a bad basketball player. But like Musa Diabate is like legit. He's a force to be reckoned with. And Şengün with his very back to the basket style of play, I think that's going to be a really tough matchup for him. I think Diabate is going to give him hell. But just like in that Portland-Boston matchup where we discussed, where I picked Portland center to beat up on Boston center, but I still picked Boston to win, I am still going to take Houston in this one.
That's what I thought you meant.
That's where I was going with that. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be Houston 107 to 99. That's what I'm going to go. I think we have pretty similar point differentials there, but your game being a bit higher scoring. But I think even if Diabate gives Şengün hell, and even with the Rockets missing Steven Adams, who was going to be out for the season all of a sudden, which is just a catastrophic loss for them. He is a huge contributor to their success on the boards and rebounding suits where Moussa Diabate would maybe be neutralized in this game if they had Steven Adams. But even despite that, I just have to pick Houston here. It's I don't know if I'm so high on the Hornets where I'm picking them to beat the Rockets in Houston yet. But man, if they beat them in Houston, that is really gonna put the Hornets on the map. And man, I think they're legit. I think they're really coming together. And it's really encouraging to see out of them. But this was our game of the week because again, we have this streaking team, this group of players who we have yet to see success out of, really starting to put things together and look like a serious good team. Yet still largely untested until Thursday night again, where they go to Houston and face a championship contender. I think we can call Houston, with the amount of talent they have. So yeah, this is just going to be an awesome game. I honestly can't wait for this game. I can't wait to see how Charlotte looks against an opponent the caliber of Houston in a big game. But yeah, I'm gonna go Houston in this one. I'm gonna go 107 to 99. So we're on the same page here. Shout out the Hornets though.
Yeah, it should be a good game, especially with all the shooters, as we talked about with the Hornets and even the Rockets, if they can get Reed Shepherd going. Can I just say this about? I know we've talked about Şengün. I remember you came over to my house last year. We were watching I think it was Warriors Rockets playoff game, and I commented, Alperen Şengün's got one of the funniest runs I've ever seen. Just like the way he runs up the court, it's just hilarious.
He reminds me of the have you ever watched Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs?
I think when I was younger, but I don't remember the whole thing.
He reminds me of there's one character. He's like this like fat blonde guy and he dresses up like the chicken or something or like in a baby cot. Let me find his name. I have it up right now. Brent. He reminds me of Brent from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Just a total oaf. We're a small podcast. So I can say that Alperen Şengün just kind of looks stupid. He just looks goofy. Shout out Alperen Şengün. I mean, no disrespect, but he just looks funny. He's just a funny looking human being, and he kind of has the mannerisms of a giant baby, as Brent so perfectly encapsulates in the renowned award-winning movie Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
That's such a
Um,
random ass reference, man. I haven't thought
this
about
this
that
is what
movie.
you get when you put on Dealman at halftime.
I haven't thought about that movie in years, or maybe even a
Dude,
decade plus.
screw advanced stats, screw controversies. This is why you tune into Dealman at halftime for comparisons like these. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Brent, Alper and Sengun, same person. Where else are you getting this, Larry? You're not getting this anywhere else but Dealman at halftime.
Absolutely not. No, we get all the comparisons here. I mean, yeah, so we'll see with the Rockets and maybe this will be a finals matchup in June. Hornets Rockets, you never know.
Man, that'd be nuts.
But we'll see if the Hornets can get out of the playing tournament and like we said earlier, and we'll see if they can beat the Rockets or at least take a split. If they can get a split with Houston,
That'd
that'd
be
be
impressive.
amazing.
That'd be impressive.
Even if it was both on their home floors instead of taking a road win, but we'll see. Well, that's all the time we have for today. If you haven't already, make sure to follow the podcast accounts, Chris and me, on social media. The three podcast accounts on Instagram, TikTok, and X or Twitter are under at Diehlman at half. My personal X and Instagram are at Larry Diehlman. Chris's personal X and Instagram are at Chris Dippy. All seven handles are in the description on Buzzsprout, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, although you can find Dealman at halftime on major podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, the main podcast website is on Buzzsprout. The website URL is dealman@halftime.buzzsprout.com. Feel free to send a comment by using the Send Us a Text button located in each episode's bio. With the exception of Apple Podcasts, the text option is available on Buzzsprout and all of the major platforms. Your comment could end up in the fan mail section of the Buzzsprout website. And don't forget to spread the word about Dealman at halftime. See you next time, fellow Hoops fans.